Before we moved to France, we thought we knew what would be hard. The language, the paperwork, the bureaucracy. And yes, those are real and they are harder than you think. But they are not the things that changed our daily life the most. The real shifts were quieter, more psychological, less romantic, and definitely less Instagram friendly. Some of them made life more complicated than we expected, and a few quietly made life better. But none of these were obvious before we actually moved here. So if you are seriously considering moving to France, these are the parts people don't usually explain. France isn't cheap, but it's also not shockingly expensive. And that sounds neutral until you actually live inside it. Because the financial pressure here doesn't usually come from one huge bill. It comes from many small ones. Energy bills that quietly require attention. You learn to run laundry at the night to avoid peak hours. School insurance you didn't know existed. Medical certificates to join the gym. Groceries that aren't outrageous but aren't light either. Bank fees even for a basic debit account. Maintenance that appears the moment you relax. A small repair, something that suddenly needs replacing. None of these things feel dramatic on their own. It's not one terrifying spike, but together they create a steady financial rhythm and responsibility, and you start planning differently. You stop reacting and you start anticipating. You stop asking, can we afford this? And you start asking, have we factored this in? And that psychological shift surprised me. Because it's not the dramatic moments that shapes daily life the most, it's the constant ones. And we underestimated that completely. This one genuinely unsettled me at first. In London, convenience fixes almost everything. Run out of milk at 6:45 p.m? You pop into a nearby shop? Solved. Here, tomorrow. Shops close. Sunday is actually Sunday. Many places close for lunch. August slows down like the entire country collectively agreed to pause. You adapt, not the system. A couple of weeks ago, I was standing outside the shop at 1 p.m. Even after all this time, I still sometimes forget that pretty much everything closes between 12 and 2. I drive somewhere at lunchtime. It's 1 o'clock. It's closed. It's humbling, but something bigger shifts too. When convenience disappears, urgency softens. The pace of life just feels different. There is less hustle, less pressure to always be doing more, less feeling like you always have to be on. People take full holidays, long lunches, real breaks. Coming from busy city life, initially that felt insufficient. Not wrong, but unfamiliar. Then I started questioning something. Maybe constant urgency isn't productivity. Maybe it's just a habit, and not a particularly good one. That shift didn't happen overnight, but it changed how I think about time now. This is the part people rarely mention. After the excitement fades, there is a middle stage. You are not new anymore, but you are not fully settled either. And suddenly, everything feels slightly heavier. I remember one afternoon sitting at the kitchen table thinking, why does this feel so tiring? Nothing was wrong. We weren't unhappy, but everything required more effort. Conversations took concentration, planning required forethought. Simple systems weren't automatic yet. Even small things took more mental energy. It wasn't regret, it was recalibration. But if you don't expect that phase, it can feel isolating. Because on the outside, everything looks fine. But on the inside, you are just adjusting. No one posts about that stage. You see the sunshine, the cafes, the pretty markets, not the quiet mental effort in the middle. That stage doesn't last forever, but it's real, and we completely underestimated it. Before we moved here, I struggled to find clear information about what living in France would actually be like, financially, emotionally, and administratively. And that's one of the reasons I wrote a practical relocation guide explaining the systems, the cost, and the quieter realities of living here. So if you are seriously considering moving to France, I leave a link in the description below. After talking about the complicated parts, let's talk about the things that quietly made life better. Healthcare here isn't just affordable, it's predictable. When we lived in London, the NHS was free at the point of use, so cost itself wasn't the stress. But globally, many families live with real uncertainty around healthcare expenses. Surprise bills, unclear invoices, costs you don't see coming. Here, the mechanism is visible. You pay, you reimburse, you understand the process. And that transparency removes something subtle but powerful. You are not bracing for the unknown. And as a parent, that transparency matters more than I imagined. When something happens, a fever, a fall, you are focused on your child, not on navigating the system. And that sense of structure surprised me. Overall, groceries here are quite expensive, but quality isn't marketed as luxury. Vegetables actually taste like vegetables. And tomatoes in summer smells like tomatoes, which sounds obvious, but it's not everywhere. Bread isn't positioned as artisanal or elite, it's just bread. Fresh, delicious, affordable, something you pick up almost without thinking. And wine doesn't require an occasion. You don't need a dinner party or a celebration. You can buy a genuinely good bottle of wine for a few euros. It's normal, and that subtle normalization changes something. Good food isn't an upgrade here, it's the baseline. You are not striving for the better, you are not treating yourself, you are just living. And that reframes daily life in a quiet but powerful way. This one took months to notice. At first, life just felt slower. Interactions take time, you greet people properly, you acknowledge others. But over time I realized it's not just about politeness. It's about how everyday exchanges are structured. You are not just completing tasks as fast as possible. Even something as simple as buying bread. The baker wraps it carefully. There is an eye contact, a pause. It's not rushed. You are not just tapping your card and walking away. You are present for a moment. And that changes how the day feels. There is more formality, more process, and more presence in the interaction itself. Things take longer, but it's human friction. And that creates something I didn't expect. Life feels less transactional, less compressed, less like you are just moving on to the next thing on your to-do list. It's not necessarily easier, but it's less squeezed. And when you combine that with a slower rhythm, you realize there is more emotional space in a day, more pauses, more room to think, more moments that aren't purely functional. We didn't anticipate how much that would matter. Moving to France didn't magically simplify life, it reshaped it. The underestimated parts, both the complicated and the beautiful, are what end up defining the experience. Not the language and not the paperwork. If you are considering moving here, prepare for more than the logistics. Prepare for a shift in pace, a shift in expectations, and a shift in how daily life feels. Because that's the real adjustment. And strangely, that's also where most of the growth happens. If you are considering to move to France, I hope you found this video helpful. But for now, see you in the next one. A bientôt!